Thank you so much for joining us. We're in the 2023 webinar regarding sibling support. When we experience baby loss, if we have our own living children already or children to come in the future, they too experience the dynamics within the family of baby loss as well. And joining us today, we have two wonderful mums speaking to their experience. And it also adds another duplicity to the grief experience of when you're having to also care for a child when perhaps all you want to do is curl up in the bed and stay in bed. So I welcome Sasha and Fariha today. I'm going to start by just asking you both just to introduce yourself. And you don't need to share, if you don't wish to, the names of your siblings, but if you want to share whatever you like to share within this about what your family dynamics are, what your setups were, and who your beautiful family members are, just in terms of ages and what that looked like for you. So Sasha, I'll come to you first.
Hi, my name is Sasha, and I'll start with being completely honest. I'm a little bit anxious today. I don't know why, but that anxiety just picked up towards the call. So pardon me if I stumble or anything. So I'm mom of Robin, who's 5 years old now, and I'm mom of Demi, who is forever 2.5 months. She would be 2.5 years now. And I'm a mom of Aiden, who is a very naughty 1-year-old little boy. Shall I talk about Demi?
What I'll say there is that you come to this experience with having both a living sibling who was alive at the time and navigated the loss of Demi with you, and you have a rainbow baby who's come after Demi and navigating what he is as a younger brother to Demi, who's no longer with us. So I think that's a really interesting and I'm sure emotional aspect to parenting as well. Fariha, I'm going to just ask you as well, just to introduce yourself and your family dynamic as well.
So my name is Fariha. We lost our boy at 38 weeks, 3 months ago, and I have a living child of 11 years old. His name is Alian. And he was in and out of the whole pregnancy from the time, since I mentioned to you, the boy we lost, his name was Zion. We conceived him through IVF. So he was there through the embryo transfer day till the blood test, till the delivery date, and through his little brother's burial. He was all in it.
So two very different ages as well that you were navigating through that. I wanted to ask you, in the immediacy of your own shock and grief, and I'm going to come to you first with this, Fariha, because of the nature you'll share your own story about what happened. But in that immediacy, what were your immediate thoughts about kind of breaking the news to Alian, to your son in that time?
Okay, so first let me speak about the dynamics of between me and my son. My husband is not very expressive in nature, so he keeps to himself, and this grieving journey has been very different to what is mine and my son's. So me and my sons share a very special bond. We share and we talk about our everyday life, our problems, his problems. He's matured earlier than for an 11-year-old. So he comes from school and he does ask me, how did your day go? You know, have you been missing Zion, and do you want to speak about him? So, and coming back to how did the news break to him, like I said, he was there at the hospital with us. He wasn't allowed in the room with me and my husband, but he was waiting outside with my husband's friend. My husband immediately called one of his friends for support to take care of Alian. And he was outside with him. And when the news broke to us that we cannot find a heartbeat, and I'm afraid your boy is no more. I remember I started yelling and screaming. I crashed into my husband's arms, and I I just started yelling, like it can't be true, and he can't go. And I think my son heard it outside. And what I hear from the nurses who were passing by when they came in for condolences, um, they told me that we could hear your cries outside. And when your son heard the cry, he collapsed to the ground, just breaking and just crying that, oh, my brother is no more. And then he was allowed to come inside. And I remember my husband, my son, and I, we just hugged each other, and we cried, and we all were just speechless. Um, he just asked me, why did this happen? And I was like, I don't have an answer to this right now. He's just not there with us anymore, and he's not coming home with you.
You share clearly an amazing bond with your son, and the fact that you had him involved in incredibly honest and open conversations, and as you say, he had amazing emotional maturity, but it's a lot to process, isn't it? It's a lot to process as an adult, as a parent, but also as a sibling, to feel so deeply robbed of this brother that he was expecting, that he already loved, who he already had so many hopes for.
Yeah. I still remember sorry, I'm just going to mention this. My son, he was involved in so we as Muslims, we wash the body before the burial. So, when he saw his brother being washed and buried, he came home to me. He came to my room in the hospital, and he just burst out crying. And, for me, I was in a place where I was grieving the loss of my child, and I was grieving the sadness of my child who had lost his brother too. So I knew in that immediate moment that my journey from here is not just going to be taking care of myself emotionally, but him as well, because he was shattered. Only not just I didn't wanted to fill the void of a baby, but so did he for his brother. And he came to me and he said, Mama, he was supposed to have his first shower with you. And, I was supposed to carry him, to play with him, but, I was there carrying him and laying him to rest.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. There are no words for having to carry just such deep heartbreak. But one of the things that you've said there that I think is amazing, and I hope will give other families, help break the fear of being able to talk to children honestly and understand about actually how much they are able to and how much they need to navigate processing grief with you as well. Sasha, I'm going to come to you in that your journey through loss looked a little different. You had a long time where you were in and out of hospital with Demi, whilst also caring for her older sister. Can you talk a little bit about what that looked like for you in terms of when you started, or when things were becoming clear how sick Demi was at that time, how you felt you were going to have those conversations, and any support perhaps that was offered at that time? Or maybe we'll still talk support in a second, but how did you navigate that, your family?
Yeah, so like to start with, my Robin was 2.5 at the time, but she was incredibly emotionally mature for her age. I don't know, I have a theory that babies do choose who they come to, and I'm grateful that Robin was the first one who came to me, because she's an absolute anchor ever since for me, and I'm trying to be an anchor for her. And we take turns, though she's only 5. When we were moved from one hospital to another, and we were in hospitals for a long 6 weeks. First 2 weeks, we were basically treating the cold. We didn't understand there was underlying condition with Demi, and it wasn't treatable. We had no idea till 8 weeks after she passed away that she couldn't stay with us. But when we were moved to another hospital where she had multiple organs failure, 12 tubes, resuscitations, and then she passed away. I would say only in the past 5 days, it was clear to me that we might not get her home, because as a mom, you just refuse the idea. We were sure they're going to fix her and we're going to come home, have a therapy and move on. But it never happened. So in the past, I would say 4 days, I started thinking how I'm going to manage, because I wasn't really managing this 2 months away from my daughter. She was 2.5. She stopped breastfeeding at 2. We never were apart, and here mommy is missing for 2 months, like for 6 weeks in the hospitals. I practically haven't seen Robin. It was really tough, but to be honest, Lala, in the moments when Demi was going, I had no space to even think how I'm going to break the news, what's going to be next. Everything was focused on that child who needs me at that very moment much more. That came much later. We knew that she's looked after. We had amazing friends who gave her shelter and stuff. But at the moment, that wasn't even the thought. And when we came back to her, I think she kind of understood. For me, that was a huge dilemma. To which extent can I involve a 2.5-year-old in this grief and this pain when she's still a child? Do I bring her to the morgue? No, in my culture, we don't. In my husband's culture, they do. It was tough for me to navigate, I'll be honest with you, but I don't regret the decisions I made at the time, which is great. I just followed how I felt. I felt, my mother's instincts. And we started this journey as soon as I came home and navigated it from there. But I would say I didn't have any chance to even think how that would be for her when we come home. And then when we came, obviously, we said, sorry, Robin, Demi can't come. It's hard for me to understand how much she understood at the time, because she was still asking me if she's still in hospital, as if she was trying to get the positive answer. I think deep inside she knew Demi is not coming, but she was still asking. And that was just heartbreaking. I totally echo Fariha in this, because we felt like, I felt like she was robbed of her little sister. I felt the unfairness of it. And being a perfectionist myself, I had to adjust and change big time, because I seen this picture perfect. Oh, here are my 2 girls, and for you 2 boys, and how they're going to grow, and all this shattered in pieces. And I feel that my grief multiplied multiple times, understanding that my daughter will never have what others are having. And I just cried endlessly, seeing other siblings with babies endlessly. And she was quite exposed to my emotions. And one day I was cursing myself for being so emotionally open with her, because my husband is exactly the same. I think men are just much more reserved. My husband also kind of locked in his emotions and tried to, pull through. And I was just, very emotional through this. But then I was balancing between, that's okay, she's going to be exposed to these emotions. She's going to understand that, going through those emotions is normal. Feeling pain is normal. It's not okay to shut it behind the closed doors and then, try to process it much later. So I thought that's a good thing. So I was kind of fighting with myself on feeling guilty for robbing her of childhood, let me put it that way. And on the other side, trying to calm myself down, that there are no pluses in it, but like, she'll learn from that, she'll grow from that, just like ourselves. And she did.
And that's an amazing perspective to have been able to have had through such an incredibly difficult time. I think it speaks a little bit to what we were talking about in our earlier segment. We talked about neonatal loss, and that every parent, or certainly I would say the vast majority I've ever known or ever spoken to, would never ever wish not to have their child in the world for no matter how long it was, in pregnancy, in infancy, and the pain and the grief that they carry since. They still would go through it time and time and again to have that love and have that connection that they had. And I think that you know, and so many of them say that the people they are today, they wouldn't be without having had those babies come into their world. Fariha, I want to ask you at the time, I know you said that you brought your son to the hospital with you a lot. Did you have friends and family who were there to help support you in supporting Alian on how he was navigating that and making sure that his immediate needs were being cared for, as well as your immediate needs in terms of just practicalities, physicalities? What did that look like from a family and friend support perspective? And is there anything you'd say to others who are going through this? You know, how can they rally around? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it was just ironic. The day this news was delivered to us, my parents were on the flight to me, and I had to give them a call and tell them, break the news to them, so that they don't travel from the airport to my house, but come to the hospital instead, so they can say their goodbyes to Zion as well. So my parents were there. My sister flew down from England almost immediately within 2 days, and my best friend came down within half an hour of the call to the hospital. And during the time of the hospital, it was my best friend who took care of my son in and out. You know, she would talk to him emotionally. He had so many questions that why us? Why my brother? You know, my brother was coming to me after such a long time. And obviously he had as many plans with him as me and my husband did. So my best friend took care of him emotionally, physically, feeding him, talking to him, dropping him home, taking him home. And when my sister flew down, I cannot thank her enough, because my level of functionality was zero. I could not function. I could not eat. I didn't know what I was eating. I didn't want to I didn't want to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not know how would I have done it if my sister wasn't there. My sister made sure he had his breakfast. She took care of him. She took him out to movies, to games, to his friends, and I just cannot thank her enough. And over the matter of a few days, obviously the connection my son and I share is not something he can share with somebody else. So despite of a lot of distractions that were he was blessed with, let's say, in this time, he did come to me and ask me, Mama, are you going to be sad forever? Are we going to be sad forever? Are we never going to be normal? Is it okay to be happy? You know, he was actually feeling very upset or guilty for being happy or having a good time with my sister. And that's when I knew I had to pick up my pieces together for this child of mine. And I think within 2-3 weeks, I was up on my toes just for him, honestly.
And I think that, you know, just listening to that and what you've said about your sister and the role that she played, I think this is the key message for the people who are surrounding the immediate family, whether it's your best friend, whether it is a family member. Sometimes it can be the people you least expect, and the ones you expected to be there aren't the ones who are there. But being able to, as you say, take care of just making sure that there's food, making sure that you're able to eat, making sure that the laundry is done, making sure that if there are siblings, you are led by the parents, but you are able to take them to the cinema, to take them to do, you know, low expectation things that aren't necessarily socializing, but they're going out. It's a distraction. It's a continuation of life, and validating to them that doing those things is okay, that doesn't lessen how much you miss or grieve or love your sibling as well. Sasha, within that, you obviously had quite an extended period of time whilst Demi was in hospital. What did family and friend support look like within that? You've said that obviously when you were at hospital, You had your elder daughter with friends. What did that look like, and what did you need from them? Were they able to kind of navigate that and step up? Were you able to give direction? And is there something you'd say to others who are supporting families and siblings through this at the moment?
I would echo you, Lala. I think you have to look for support where you can really get it, the right support you need. Say my family couldn't support me the way I needed, and they still can't. They were not there. They were a message away back home, and we basically relied on our amazing nanny, who is with us for 2 years, and our close friends. But say when nanny wasn't around, everything seems for them to have happened on weekends. Saturdays were the days. And our friends basically had to pick up Robin, and she would stay the night with them. Thankfully, they're just an amazing bunch of people. So we didn't have to give them any guidance. We knew that our girl with their girls would have the best time. They'd look after her, take her places, and they didn't need any guidance. I would say after Demi passed away, that was the place we actually came on the same morning, and we just crashed in their bed and fell asleep for a few hours. We were that emotionally and physically drained after the night. And again, they looked after Robin. I would say then we started receiving lots of gifts and cards from friends around. I'll be honest with you, Lala, I couldn't look at them lilies. I still can't. It was such a suffocating smell around the house. Lilies. And at some point I was vocal and brave enough to say, listen, I've got a 2-year-old here who is, I can't give her the attention she needs because I'm broken and she's still quite active. Can you send her activities instead? Like drawings, toys, just no flowers, just something for Robin. And then Robin had a little Christmas period of lots of toys coming her way. I still can't look at some of them because I feel like, okay, that came from my husband's job. For Robin, when Demi passed away, that's for Demi. So I kind of have associations with these toys, but it was helpful. Our friends kept ordering us takeaways and sending. So you really need to look after yourselves, and you don't feel like I couldn't cook for nearly a year after Demi. So we were quite fortunate that some friends would just order takeaway. Every 2 days, some pies would be coming our way. So Robin was fed and looked after. But yeah, I would say get the help where it's coming from, and people will surprise you. Our circle of friends changed tremendously after Demi, and all of them have children, and Robin is amazing with all of them. But I think it was incredible, really, to see the different sides of different friends we had. And sometimes all she needed, or all I needed, was a talk, a presence. And a lot of people are just scared to be present in this moment. So it's just very important to just be there, really, and go with the flow of the parents and the family. Ask what they might need. It might be something really minor, just 1 hour to yourself. There would be days when I just needed 1 hour to myself in the house. I didn't want Robin to see me cry, to ask the same question at 2 years old, like, Mommy, are you sad again? Are you okay now, Mommy? She was so worried. Because as a mom, you are like an anchor for your child, right? And that anchor is so wobbly, it's all over the place, it's not stable. So I was constantly feeling very guilty and anxious that I'm not giving her the feeling of safety that she's used to, because I feel so broken. So at the time, people really need to step in to just give a child some extra support and feeling of stability, whether it's taken to the movies or just being there, or just taking them out. Say I couldn't walk with her for a year, Lala. I couldn't take her for walks because I had anxiety that something's going to happen to her. So my husband and my nanny and some of our friends took that bit on them, and I was doing everything else here. So it's just, yeah, you need some help.
There are so many things that you said within there, Sasha, that particularly when you are looking after a toddler who has got perhaps some comprehension of what you're going through, and is very aware that mummy is sad, and but so much of death and loss is so abstract within that for her, and being able to have those things that you just said that are so simple, but I think so many people wouldn't think of, instead of sending flowers, send an activity for my toddler, send some food, send some meals. And I think, give me the space that I need to be able to just cry and grieve, and not rush it, not need to be better, not need to get up. I think those things are, helping create self-care space for parents as well, because things like, if there's a desire to seek professional support, being able to carve out that time. Fariha, within for your son's age, for Alian, he's obviously at school age. Did you find that you had for many people, the sort of bursts of reintegrating into society are often hugely overwhelming? And for a lot of people, things like that can be returning to work. It could be going to somewhere that's been familiar, a gym, if you've been there and people have seen you pregnant. Going back into that school environment, how was that, and how were you supported? And were you able to kind of guide the narrative around support for yourself and also for your son in reintegrating into school?
Now my son goes and comes back through bus. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to avoid as many people's questions as possible. Yeah, my son, obviously he's 11, and he had shared his brother coming news to all of his friends. And while I was picking him up last year, everybody saw the baby bump, and all his friends knew, oh, your mommy's pregnant, or you're gonna have a little sibling. So I remember all his friends asking him when this happened in July, and they all knew that he was coming in July. So everybody started asking him by the end of July or August, hey, is your brother here? Is your brother here? And he would tell them, no, I lost my brother. He's no more. And all his friends, I believe, were also very nice and very welcoming to him. And I was pretty surprised for the kids at this age. And they told him, don't worry, you've got us. And if you want to talk about your brother, you can tell us about him. Yeah, he just had the best of the support. None of the teachers actually knew. The current year's teachers don't really know about my pregnancy or the loss. But I would like to mention the school did send an email for extra care for some kids who are going through like a loss of a loved one, or parents in divorce, or something happening at the home front that they would like for an extra care for. And I wanted to monitor my child in performance for a few weeks before I could add this extra care badge to his profile at school. But touch wood, he did not need anything. He's eating well, he's playing well, he's studying well, he's coping well. Just keep the communication channels open for your child so he knows he can run to you for any emotions, especially for the loss of sibling or a loved one, because talking about it is very important. You will not get anywhere holding your emotions inside.
And it's so wonderful that his friends really embraced and have given him the space for that, by the sounds of it. And I think that this is something that perhaps speaks to the fact that, within children, they do have sort of very honest conversations, and they haven't perhaps learned some of the social discomfort that we as adults have around talking about loss. And I think that it's wonderful to hear that he gets that support. We were going to be joined today by a clinical psychologist within this session, but unfortunately they are ill today, and I'm very mindful of being here in an advice giving role. But I think so many of the things that you have shared are so valuable for people who are going through that experience. And from two very different perspectives in terms of age, as well. So Sasha, I wanted to kind of ask you, was Demi in nursery at that time, or were you, it was predominantly through nanny, friends, etc., who helped support you with childcare when you needed to?
It was practically straight after COVID time, Lala, so she wasn't in nursery. But she started school pretty much soon after. and I had huge fears of how it's going to go. So I knew exactly that at our first meeting with the head teacher, she's going to be asked about the family, the siblings. So we had a long talk the night before. I had a good cry the night before. And of course, when she was asked, she said that she's got a baby sister who died. She's in heaven. And you know what? I had the most amazing conversation with the school teacher at the time. She won me all over. She took it very emotionally aware. She shared her own experience of loss. And we had a lovely chat and connection. And I felt that was such a healthy way to deal with me on that day. And I thought, okay, that school should be really good for my daughter. Then when she started school, I made all teachers aware. We brought her little book, Invisible String, to school. They do have this book as well, and many others. So this year she had a change of teachers. I made sure they are aware. I'm sure it's in your profile, on her profile, but it was important for me that they do know. At the time, Robin was painting a lot of pictures, and she would put them on the ceiling so that Demi could see. And that was her little thing. So I knew she's going to make crafts at school and put them towards the window. And I didn't want the teachers to be puzzled, or don't give her the space for that. For me, it was so important that she keeps doing what she's doing, and all this is welcomed and accepted. And yeah, I knew that Robin, especially as she started growing up, she can tell things. And I wanted to make sure that other children are not that affected by, they would read Snow White, for instance, at school, and she would say, oh, that's nonsense. He kissed her and she woke up. That's not how it works, because in the book it says she died. And I was looking at her, you are 3.5, what's going on? But she understands. And on the one hand side, I felt like her childhood was a little bit robbed, but on the other hand side, I felt like under the circumstances, we have to adjust the way we talk to her, the way we have to adjust. She's not just a regular kid who didn't experience the loss. She experienced the loss. She's doesn't have pink glasses that things can happen. Or she would run to a boy over there who is eating too fast. He's a special needs boy, and she was all constantly worried that he's going to choke. And she was always telling the teachers, listen, he's going to choke and die. Can you mind him? So it was important for me that they do understand that that's my Robin. She's very caring. She's worried things can happen. She doesn't have illusions. Things can't happen. And so we kept talking to the teachers about it, and it was a good feedback from them. They would always tell me if she painted Demi, or if she said something about Demi, or it was really good, especially in the first year. The communication was very open, and for me as a mom, it was what I needed.
And you mentioned there The Invisible String, which is a beautiful book about love continuing beyond that which we can see. Are there any other resources, or was there any other professional support that you sought out for Demi during that time?
Robin.
Robin.
It's all right. It's totally okay. I was in therapy for a year. I weekly had therapy sessions with one psychologist. So I was lucky enough to be able to ask her. Or we had a monthly call with Lighthouse Arabia, with Atilia, and I would be able to ask her if something really bothered me, because I didn't realize that as a child grows, awareness grows, questions change. It took Robin probably a year till she ran to me, a year after Demi died, and she was hysterically crying. I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I miss my Demi. She died and I miss her too much. And I was like, that's the first outburst of tears, and it's been a year. And then I thought to myself, she's growing. She's understanding a bit more. So I started asking them if that's okay, if this is okay, if tremors are okay. So I kind of asked my psychologist, but for me, it was very important to fix me so that I could fix her, to get all the knowledge I could get so that I could help her. Because I knew if I don't look into self-care, it's like a mask in the airplane. You need to put it on yourself before you can put it on a child. And I felt that way from the beginning. So yeah, so for me, it's basically was psychologists that I worked with, and some books, but I couldn't find too many books, Lala. I have probably 2. I can't remember the name of the second one, but Invisible String was the best one, and she really loved reading it.
It's beautiful. And we are building on our Love Through Loss website to put in resources such as these that are really helpful for siblings. Fariha, you mentioned to me, and I know you're going to be joining us in our memory making session, about the fact that you created a memory box. Are there certain things that your son, that Alihan has done, or ways that he has created memories with his brother, with Zion, that help, or books or anything else that's helped support him in his grieving process?
Yeah, first of all, I would just like to add something to what Sasha said. You need to take care of yourself to be able to take care of your children. So their healing starts with your healing. So, please don't shut your kids off that, I need to take care of myself. Otherwise, you'll be at a greater loss than the loss you've already suffered. Yeah, so when, as I mentioned to you, my hospital wasn't really prepared for such a tragedy. And we didn't receive anything from the hospital for Zion. When we came home to his nursery, everything was there. His pram and his cot and his car seat, his wardrobe, his clothes. And I remember making calls from the hospital to charity organizations to have everything picked up, and so that I could donate it to somebody who can use it, because obviously Zion's not coming home. And I was glad that when we came home, nothing was arranged, because even I was, as I told you, my functioning level was at a minimal, and it was Alian's idea to make a memory box for him. And he's like, Mama, why do we have to give everything away? Can we not keep a few of our favorite things for Zion? So I will show you the box in the next session. He made a box full of his first outfit that he chose for his brother. He kept the homecoming outfit. He kept the favorite color of his outfit, his shoes. He bought Zion a mini baby football, and he kept that. He asked me if I wanted to keep anything, and I said, yeah, I kept a blanket when Alian was born, and I said I'd like to keep a blanket for Zion as well. And yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Alian, it wouldn't even have crossed my mind to make a memory box for Zion.
That's really, really beautiful to hear, and that the two of you were able to create together and create those really precious memories when you were sadly not supported to do more, perhaps in the immediacy after your loss. It has been so incredible to hear from both of you today. You both have such different age groups of siblings that you supported. And Sasha, I just wanted to come to you now, because you have had a rainbow baby since. What does that look like now for you in continuing Demi's place, very special place within your family? And what does that look like? Obviously, Aiden's only little at the moment. What's his knowledge, and how do you foresee creating that kind of connection for him and a sibling that he didn't know?
Oh, I think it comes naturally, Lala, because Demi is in every day of our life. She's pictures all over. She's been at home for a month, so we've got beautiful photograph. We've got her little teddy. He smiles at the photograph of the girls. I have a big canvas of Robin and Demi on my wall, and he always smiles at them. I think he knows. I don't really think I need to tell him anything about Demi. That's my belief. I'm pretty certain he knows which family he came to. But as he grows, obviously, he'll grow into knowing about his little sister and the way he came into this life, because he was an IVF baby for us, to make sure he's safe and healthy. And it's a bittersweet for me at times that if Demi was with us, I wouldn't know Aiden. It's an interesting feeling. It's not that he has to be grateful for her, but I'm a mom of 3, and all of them are well aware that there is a third one and she is well present in the house. So I think by me carrying the legacy, by Robin well carrying the legacy, sending Demi balloons practically every month when she feels sad, we send a balloon, we put a little note inside, and we find the ways to include her. So Aiden will be exposed to this, and I think he'll naturally know. I wouldn't even have to tell him, which I will, but like I think it's a natural thing to grow into. Because we do talk about Demi, we choose to talk about her, we choose to include her, teddy bear and all the Christmas occasions, and she's always with us.
And I think that's something you've spoken to so beautifully there, and that you've said that you are from a family, obviously you and your husband have mixed cultures. Fariha, you've shared a little bit about some of the cultural and religious practices that you have, but both of you, what's so wonderful is that what's universal is that your beautiful babies, your Zion, your Demi, are part of your families now, forever. They are woven into the conversation and the tapestries of your life and of your family now and forever. And I'm so truly grateful to you both for sharing and entrusting a little bit of your story and your family to us today at Love Through Loss. And I hope other people can feel a little bit of comfort hearing how you've been navigating sibling support through your own grief as well. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you take care of your hearts now as well today.
Thank you, love. Thank you, Fariha.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.